Afghan's attitudes to women's education has changed a great deal. The sky is the limit, really, in terms of aspirations of women from all over Afghanistan. It's not just women in urban centers.
2001, 2002, 3, where we went around the whole country and we brought people together, deciding that things have to change. And that's when we, worked very hard and got gender equality in the first constitution of 2004. And those days seem like golden eras to me. There was a lot of, ambition and a lot of passion all of us were working with. And of course, the security was much, much better then. Things started getting better for women. We got the Ministry of Women's Affairs. We started working on a very important law, which is the Elimination of Violence Against Women law. Women who were victims and survivors of violence started using the law. That was another, huge, important accomplishment for us.
Afghans have been peace building for decades. This is now part of the kind of global consciousness because of the talks, but Afghans have been doing this against a lot of outside interference and challenges and with very few resources.
The Taliban have been out of power for 20 years now, and in that time, Afghanistan has changed a lot. And the youth in Afghanistan leading the way today are simply not going to give up the rights that they've earned and the freedoms that they now have.
The next generation really is what gives Afghanistan hope. They are so engaged, so active, just so plugged into what's happening in the rest of the world.
This is a new country with lots of young talent and young power, which the Taliban continue to deny.
We would be naive to say that that the Taliban have changed or they're ready to make peace. I think that we really have to ask the critical and hard questions as to, in Taliban-controlled areas, currently in Afghanistan, how many women are graduating from high school? How many of these women are going and pursuing higher education degrees? These are the questions that we have to ask that can give us the concrete results as to what are the Taliban's stance with regards to women's rights.
There's also been reports that in provinces where Taliban rule, they've already started taking measures to limit freedom by banning music, for example, or banning mobile phones. So far, they have demonstrated very little shift in their views towards women.
The Taliban have embarked on a campaign of targeted assassinations against anyone they consider too progressive for their vision of a future authoritarian theocratic regime.
And this is a new trend, really, in Afghanistan. The targeting of civic leaders, journalists, artists, public servants. This is to instill fear, specifically by targeting young leaders and reformers who have a different vision for Afghanistan. Recent reports demonstrate that areas under Taliban control, the rate of young girls going to school has dramatically decreased.
One of the main issues with this conflict is that it continues to deprive Afghans of their access to basic rights. And a desired outcome would be a situation where we'll have more women in now conflict-torn areas having access to healthcare, to education, to employment.
توسط تامین تحصیل میتوانند از حق و حقوق خود میتوانیم همه ما دفاع کنیم.
You do have to have the inclusion of Afghan women as equal partners in decision-making processes within the public space and as economic partners within your country. And if we're not allowing them to go and receive high school educations or post-secondary educations, or we're limiting what they can study, what does that really say about how we see Afghanistan developing? Afghan women cannot become victims of this peace process. Peace cannot be achieved by compromising on the human rights of Afghan women.
I'm just so impressed with the Afghan women leadership. I'm in awe of them. We can't turn our backs on progress. We've got to stand solid for women's rights, girls' rights, human rights, and democracy.
Canada and Canadians have a role to play here. If you're for rights, if you're for equity, You have to be for them everywhere in the world.
And Afghans deserve a real opportunity at peace. Afghans deserve a reduction in violence and a ceasefire. And Afghans deserve the both sides to give it their best.